My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find a link to our playlists in the show notes. Welcome to episode 81. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is E.G. The Danish indie pop star has released 2 brilliant singles this year, and today released the 3rd, Killing It. In today's episode, we're talking with Emma from E.G. about her songwriting techniques, insecurities, and the difference between a major and indie label. Here we go. Our guest today is a Danish indie singer-songwriter. Her sound blends beautiful folk, americana, and Nordic pop together, which has seen some people dub her the Princess of Nordicana. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Emma from E.G. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm sitting in Copenhagen, and it's I got a late morning start, so yeah, I just had breakfast, and I'm sitting here in sunny Copenhagen.
Beautiful. How I don't like that it always starts off with COVID, but I'm very curious in relation to how Copenhagen has been going with the pandemic in terms of. I know just before we started recording, we were talking about live shows. How has it been over there?
It's been pretty much closed down, and there's been a lot of political discussions about it. People have been really angry because they started opening up stadiums with football fans way before doing live concerts again. And when they started opening up everything again, we still had to do concerts with a seated audience, but the stadiums could just have tens of thousands of people. So there's definitely been some cultural COVID problems over here. And actually the cultural minister, she just quit her job. So I guess she was pretty stressed out about it too.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that oddly sounds like that almost sounds like you're describing Australia, because that's the same with us here. It's you've got 15,000 people at the football, but then maybe 40 people having to sit inside for a gig, which just doesn't make sense to me. But
it's so insane. And they said too that at the seated concert you're not allowed to dance or sing. So I'm just at football stadiums, everyone is just yelling at their teams. It feels like a bigger spread of COVID would happen there. So
exactly. Oh,
yeah,
Emma, you've just skyrocketed to one of my favorite guests already. Just from that, I feel like we're very simpatico at the moment.
Yeah.
The same mind. COVID aside, congratulations. It has been a very exciting year for you, for E.G.
Thank you. Yeah.
Releasing 2 brilliant singles and a 3rd today, I believe. It must be a very exciting time for you.
It's very exciting, and it's been insane because this has also been the worst year for a lot of people. And it's been the best year in a decade for me. So everything that's happened has been very unexpected. And I feel so lucky. And yeah, I've just taken the time to write songs in a bubble. And compared to a lot of my colleagues, musicians back here, I haven't had any shows canceled or anything because I wasn't out with any songs, so I could just enjoy the calm quietness of no festivals and no FOMO or anything going on musically, which is very selfish, but like, yeah, it was definitely very easy for me to just stay in the studio cave and finish songs because nothing else was going on. Everyone was bored. So
Very fair.
Yeah.
I had read a quote from yourself that you make music for the introvert who is constantly pushed into the uncomfortable extrovert way of how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that you are more of an introvert when it comes to when it comes to writing?
Yeah, I would say so. It took me a long time to acknowledge myself as a singer. I started out playing guitar, but I really wanted to sing, but I was too shy, and I was always looking at the girls in my class that were just like courageous enough to go up there and sing an Avril Lavigne song, and I would be like, I'll just play the guitar silently in the background. And then the instrument kind of moved up, and I started playing saxophone. And I still wanted to sing, but I was, again, felt more comfortable being in the background in a band. And yeah, so I actually like got out of the closet as a singer very late. It was definitely something that I kept to myself for a long time, and which is also why it feels so crazy to have gotten this label deal with Future Classic this year, because I really have been a waitress for a decade and writing songs on the side, and just kept getting better at singing and writing songs. But it feels crazy that everything happens as soon as you kind of start letting go of maybe thinking whether it's going to happen or not. And then it's like there's all of a sudden space for this opportunity to arise when you're not like holding on to it too tightly. So yeah, I would definitely say I'm an introvert. And I remember my first meeting with my manager. I had sent her a couple of songs and she really liked them. And she had been working with like more like major label artists that are more like explosive and pop and more. And she asked me what I wanted to do with my songs. And I said I really wanted to try to do like sad empowered songs. So, you know, I just felt like there was a need for songs that are melancholic and introvert, but still have some sort of empowerment, you know, owning your introvertness or your sadness, or so it's, you know, neither pretentious or overwhelming to be like. I just feel like there's such a strong wave of feminism that can tend to get very aggressive, and I'm definitely more from a more leaned back, melancholic wave, I would say.
That's very fair.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. Is that what the single All or Nothing is about, in terms of how it appears to be that there is kind of like either you're an introvert or an extrovert and there's no grey in between, I guess?
Yeah, it's very much about feeling inadequate, and but it also felt weird when I finished the song. The world just looked different, and you know, everything with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter had happened, and I was just like, I'm from a part of the world where I'm so privileged that I just feel like this is an important song, but it's important that I address my privilegedness in the video, because, you know, everyone has their own problems, but my problem of feeling inadequate as a waitress but wanting to be a singer or something like that, wanted something differently in my career, just felt so small when I wanted the song out. So it was really important to me to address some sort of humor by exaggerating the princessy thing in the live session I did. But that song was definitely written in a time where I didn't really know whether I wanted to continue writing songs and wanted to pursue being a singer, because it definitely is one of the most expensive hobbies until it's a career or a life. And it's difficult, to be working with yourself as the main source, and everything has to come from your brain, more or less, unless you want to co-write with a lot of people and kind of, hand it out. But I feel like I always had to use myself as the main source. I was in a band for a while that got signed to a major label in Copenhagen, and I could really feel how everything was just kind of slipping out of my hands. And that was the moment where I started questioning whether I wanted to pursue music as an artist and as a songwriter, because I was like, is my voice strong enough to be in a situation with a lot of people that wants to pull me in all directions? So I really had, after that label deal, me and my band member, the producer, we were just looking at each other like, is this really what we want? Can we really see ourselves in this and see a future with this? So it was an important moment, because we just tried to satisfy a lot of people instead of ourselves. I feel like that's a very classic major label thing. So it's insane to be with Future Classic now. And I remember Nathan McClay just heard 1 or 2 songs, and he was like, "This is amazing, send over every single demo you have." And I was like, okay, are you sure? I'm going to send you a lot of ballads too. Then I just assumed that he only wanted hit singles, and it was such an amazing moment for me to feel how he just really wanted real songs and real music. And one of his favorite songs was actually one of the ballads I wrote during the pandemic. So it just felt like I was seen, and like there was a whole team that was interested in my songwriting and my voice as it was, even on a demo phase version. So that was really amazing.
The songs that you have come out with so far, I can understand why he might have said, send me all the demos you have and send me everything you've got. Because so far, what has come out has just been absolute quality. It's a gorgeous mix of folk or Americana almost. There's like little tinges of maybe like First Aid Kit, but then there's like some pop as well. Was that the sound that you kind of had previously with that other band, or was it this was a different beast altogether?
I would say it was always in there, but the producer also had a really strong point of view in terms of, the beats he would make before he went into the studio. And maybe I was too leaned back sometimes to, actually write the songs that I wanted to have the project go in a direction with. I would say there was definitely like a lot of moments in that band where I felt like there was something good going on, and I think it was definitely those moments that kept me going into this direction of wanting to strip it more down and rediscover myself as a songwriter, or just really like center it and really feel like I just felt like if I don't have anything important to say or anything important to come with, I might as well start doing something else. And I really wanted my vision about the lyrics and the stories and everything to be even more clear. And I think that the break with that band was so important, because it forced me to get off the couch and start writing more on my own on piano, because I know how to write on piano and guitar. But he was so productive that I got lazy. And that is just such an important lesson as a songwriter. And also I felt so inadequate a lot of the times, because he would be like, I can work for 14 hours. And I would be like, I can work for an hour. And then I feel like I have something good. But I always felt like he was outworking me, and after working on my own my own time schedule, I'm like, I can actually get a lot done in a very short time. Like, I can actually get the things I want to say down on paper really fast if I'm just in the zone. It doesn't take me 14 hours to write the right lyric. It's something different. And so that was important too for me, to spend a lot of time in the studio writing songs alone and rebuilding myself as like a songwriter and being like, what did I learn from before?
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
What do I have now? And then I could just feel like I still had a lot to say. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep writing songs until I feel like I'm out of things to say. And luckily I just kept having more things to say. So that's where I'm at now.
Look, there's no complaints.
Thank you. And I feel like after letting go of a bit of control of the songwriting, or like how are people going to perceive this, or like, are they going to get it? Is it going to be too boring? I kind of set the frame like, if you're going to write 20 ballads, you're going to write 20 ballads. Don't think so hard about having up-tempo songs or, melodies that just are hooky from the beginning. I just really gave myself more space to write songs. And I feel like that's why so many of the songs came out so good, because I just entirely removed the pressure. And it was so amazing to meet Nathan and Future Classic and just have the feeling of they didn't put any more pressure on me. They, quite the opposite, they just removed even more pressure, because they just confirmed my intuition about what I was doing was right. So that was really amazing. And I feel great about writing songs now compared to when I started writing the first songs for this project. I was just like, can I still do this? Can I even sing? Do I even have any words in me? But I bet every singer or songwriter, gets to this point at some point. And yeah.
I imagine it's almost...
If you can get out stronger than before.
I imagine that it's almost like a little bit of an outdated like trope or a cliche. But when you were like being under an indie label and having more freedom to be an artist, and then being under a major label and, as you said, trying to write a hook from the second you get in there or whatever, was that your experience, without disparaging anyone or anything like that, was that your experience with the major, that you found that there was a lot of pressure on you as a songwriter to, pump out hits, essentially?
Definitely. And I don't think it was necessarily, well, sometimes, but not always, the people at the major label putting pressure on the songs. It was more like my expectations of being on a major label too, and looking up to, they had the posters of, the biggest artists of Denmark and internationally from Sony on the, and I could just feel them, this whole expectation of, having a career just breathing down my neck, being like, you have to work a lot. You have to, make songs that are very like extrovert and explosive and inviting. And I feel like I just had to reinvent the whole perception of, my idea of like being a musician then was very limited. It was like, I have to write a hit and then make it to the radio, and then hopefully I will have some fans and I can make concerts. Now I'm way more like, I want to write a lot of songs, and then hopefully some of them are going to be in movies or, shows, and then a few of them might make it to the radio. But I feel like I really had to rethink the whole, like, how do musicians actually do it? Like, and if I don't want to be a very explosive pop musician, I have to rethink the values of like my songwriting and like how I can use them and how I can write songs without spreading myself thin or feeling like I'm always writing songs after the same recipe. Or like, I just had a really interesting songwriting trip to Faroe Island, where I wrote songs with this legendary folk indie musician Taitur. And he just said something really beautifully about, his way of writing songs. He told me that in his 20s, he got a really big publishing deal in California or Nashville or something like that. And he just wrote songs for so long. And he actually had he always knew that he was going to debut as an artist. And his first album was done when he was 23, but he didn't put it out before he was 26. Because he really wanted to be sure that all the songs on the album was songs that he would love forever. Yeah. And he really says that every time he writes a song, he thinks about, is this a long-term song or is it a stressed out short-term song? And it was so amazing to be in the studio with him, because his first album came out like when I was a teenager, and he just looked me into my eyes and he was like, it worked. I can honestly tell you that it worked. And the funny thing is, like, that's where I'm starting now. I am like, the songs have to have enough meaning for me to carry them around with me, Yeah. So I'm doing a very, what can you say, like organic, what's it called, like, what's the word again? Bæredygtig. Basically, how the global crisis is with the climate changes and everything. I'm thinking the same about my songs. Like, they have to be good for generations. People, like, okay, I forgot the word, but anyway, like, I really talked with my producer about how I always felt like I was chasing the sound of what's in now, like with the generation of sounds, like this is what's hot right now with this kind of loop or riff or vibe, and I was like, if we always chase what's hot right now, I feel like we'll always be behind, and it's too stressful to write songs like that. So it was just important to me, the same way it was important to Taitur, that the songwriting and the production felt timeless. So, yeah.
I can 100% agree
great.
with that. I think that, yeah. If you're chasing something that is a trend or whatever else. It's either that you're likely too behind the trend and it doesn't kind of like align anymore, or it will be like popular and hot in a sense. People can't see me doing the air bunnies on a podcast, but it's only like a flash in the pan. It just kind of goes away after a while. Whereas I think the songs that we have gotten from yourself, All or Nothing or Favorite Lover, so far have been like classic songs, but with a modern element to them as well. Like they don't sound dated. They're like timeless. That's probably the word I was looking for.
Thank you. It was also like after being on the major label, I was like, I'm done writing songs where I feel like I'm underestimating people. You know, underestimating people's curiosity or like time span, patience for like how long an intro can be, or like, is this verse too long? Is this chorus too long? Do we have too many different parts in the song? Are people going to get it? Are these words too difficult to understand? Are there too many words? Like there were just too many things to take into consideration all the time if you want to please people. And at the end of the day, it's also just underestimating people's musicality. You know, people that don't write songs still want to hear good songs and want to hear interesting stories and good melodies. And there's just really a tendency that musicians put themselves under the pressure of, you know, the music business being like, you have to write songs like it's fast food, but it still has to taste like slow food. But you just can't deliver music like that. So, you know, and everyone can everyone can upload a song on Spotify from day to day. So I just feel like it's important to think about what you actually put out there, you know?
100%. In terms of output, again, we've had 2 singles. I think there's a third coming out today when this episode is released. It might be a bit of an obvious question, but can we expect an album at some point from you?
Yeah, definitely. I would say I am definitely an album artist. I definitely want to tell stories that are longer stretched than just a few singles. And, you know, I love album tracks at least as much as, you know, they often, I feel like you divide singles and album tracks, and to me, I feel like all of the album tracks could be singles too. But it's more difficult to put out ballads as singles because, you know, the PR, your manager, or whoever works your music, wherever they do it, obviously want songs that are more versatile for the radio. But it feels good to make the decisions about putting out singles that are not necessarily super radio friendly. Because again, I also hope that the people that are into my songs are going to be curious about the whole album. And, you know, there are just fragments of all of the songs and all of the songs, obviously, because it's a whole mood and a whole story about, you know, what I've been doing for the past couple of years. And I think that's interesting when you're an artist and you don't have too many co-writers doing your songs. And it's a good opportunity to make an album where you can actually tell almost like on a timeline what happened in your life for the past couple of years. So I definitely hope that if I put out an album, let's say within the next year, that people are going to dig into it and consume it like it's a Michelin restaurant 14-course dinner, instead of just, you know, listening to the first single and being like, this is a hit, and then just consuming it like it's a, I love McDonald's, no hate, like it's a cheeseburger when there's an actual 14-course dinner coming up. So that's my only plea. Like, I hope people are curious and patient enough to listen to a whole stretch of, songs instead of just the hit lists and the radio songs.
Yeah, of course. Not to steal your analogy from you, but these songs have been slow cooked properly, not fast produced, not fast put out, and they will. It's weird to say the food will stand the test of time, but it's a mixed analogy at that point. But that's all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Emma, lastly, we would usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to, if there's any albums or any singles by other artists that you currently got on high rotation.
I just had I'm such a slow listener. So I'm a slow songwriter and I'm a slow listener. So there is still so much music I haven't discovered. And I love when my label's like, can you just tell us what are the newest artists that you're listening to? And I'm like, I know it's been 3 months, but I actually haven't discovered anyone since. So I feel like my latest, biggest obsession has been hearing the Jessica Pratt album. I don't remember what the name of it is. I've been hearing that so much. Like, she just hit the mood of my songwriting, like the mood I wanted to it's also like I've been a lot in the studio for the past year, so listening to songs outside of the studio cave is really, it takes a lot of energy to write songs and hear music in your ears all the goddamn time. So when I'm off, I kind of just want to listen to something very soothing and calm, and the Jessica Pratt mood has just hit the spot. And I just recently discovered my guitar player was like, have you ever thought about like some of your songs are kind of like Tobias Jesso? And I was like, who's that? So I just heard his album too, and I was like, damn, he's my new male Jessica Pratt. Thank you. I needed this. So I finally had one I could replace with Jessica Pratt, and I feel like it's basically just male Jessica Pratt. So yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. That Jessica Pratt album is gorgeous, and if you can find something that is like a compliment to that, then that's fantastic.
Right.
Emma, thank you very much for being on the podcast today, and congratulations again on the singles.
Thank you.
That have come out, and we look forward to the album.
Yay.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Emma for her time. Killing It is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to stream more music from EG. We also want to give a huge shout out to Katie at Future Classic for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of our guests' picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday and Friday morning, with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. That's what you'll feel with Boll & Branch's best-selling signature sheets in 100% organic cotton. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. Start getting your best night's sleep in sheets that get softer and softer for years to come. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com, code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.